The reports of the death of the Democratic Party were very premature, clearly, right? Look, I've been working my ass off for these last 9 months. I've traveled to 34 states, and what I will tell you is the motto at the DNC, you've heard me say this before, is when you organize everywhere, you can win anywhere. And that's what you've seen throughout the country last night. It was a repudiation of Donald Trump and his disastrous economic policies. It was a repudiation of this administration's callous approach to governing. And I would tell you what else it was. It was an embrace of the hopeful, positive economic message that Democrats were providing in New York City, in Virginia, in New Jersey, and throughout the country, candidates running up and down the ballot. And it wasn't by accident, those wins that you saw. We made deep investments in Mississippi to help with those legislative races. We made investments in Georgia. We made investments in Pennsylvania and in California, all over the country. We made historic investments, over $3 million in New Jersey, over $3 million in Virginia, earlier than ever before, and record amounts of money. And so, look, I'm not here to take credit for anyone's victory at all, right? But we certainly did our part to build the infrastructure throughout the country to help contribute to what you saw last night. I'm proud of the DNC in this moment. And look, it's a lot of months of hard work. And it also has proven my theory, which I said earlier, when you organize everywhere, you can win anywhere. So to your point, what do we need to do moving forward? We need to continue to offer up to the American people a sense of what we will do to improve their lives, a values proposition, right? The Republicans said on day one, Donald Trump said he was going to reduce the cost, make it easier for people to afford their lives, allow them to achieve the American dream. He has done nothing except build gilded ballrooms for himself, throw fancy Great Gatsby parties on the eve of throwing 42 million people off of their food assistance, you know, talking about marble fixtures in the White House. This is Donald Trump's agenda, right? His agenda is not reducing, you know, rent and mortgage for hardworking Americans. His agenda is not actually allowing people to get ahead in any way. The anxieties around the kitchen table are what drove this electorate. And let me just say this, because I don't want to take anything away from our candidates, Michael. Our candidates were disciplined. They were focused singularly on the anxieties that people are facing in this country. And if we continue to do that and we get out there and organize and use every single day that's left here, we will win in 2026. I will guarantee you, not just because of the past precedent. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had wind at our back this whole year, and I've been telling you guys this every time I came on this show, that we're going to win, that we have wind at our back, right? But what I will also say is, while we're confident, we're not complacent. There's a reason I didn't lose a single election in Minnesota when I was chair, and it's because we don't rest on our laurels. It's because we have year-round organizing. It's because we don't stop having conversations with voters. In this new DNC, that's exactly the approach we're taking to this. Don't bet against this DNC. People have been doing it all year, right? And guess what? We won big last night, and we will win again in 26 in a much bigger way than people even imagine now if we keep doing the work.
You know, Chairman Martin, I jumped in and said clock it because last night there was we didn't do this, but I saw a lot of analysis in the papers and whatnot today that said, oh, last night was the signal, the sign Democrats have been looking for. But I think last night was a continuation of the story that Democrats have been writing over the course of this year. In special elections, Democrats have won and done well. And it is because of a number of things aligned. I think the organizing was supported by a good infrastructure. And I think the message was correct in a lot of those races. They aligned with what the voters in that particular district and space and place were looking for. And I think the voters understood the assignment. And so going forward, I'm wondering what some of the, what are some of the, we were talking about some of the takeaways, but what are the plans to, okay, we see what went well this cycle. We see where the gaps are, because there's always a gap. And what are you doing to help give a boon to some of these additional races? Jared Golden, I'll give a real example, out of Maine, who is a Democrat that represents Maine's 2nd congressional district, announced that he is not going to seek re-election in 2026. He was first elected in 2018. He's a member of the Blue Dog Coalition. Sometimes, you know, he doesn't always toe the line with the Democratic caucus in the House, but he is a Democrat counting to the numbers. I have to imagine Maine, given the Senate race, is also a target. And again, even though the DNC does not necessarily take the lead in these midterm races, the money that you gave this last cycle for 2025, I have heard from a lot of people on the ground that it has made a difference. So what's the plan for 2026?
Yeah, and it's not just the money we gave to candidate campaigns. It was the organizing on the ground. It was the record investments we made earlier this year in our state parties so they could actually build out the infrastructure we needed for this moment, right? And it's making sure that we're coordinating in ways that we haven't since the 90s. Simone, you know this. You once worked at the DNC. We haven't had a coordinated campaign table at the DNC since the 1990s. What is a coordinated campaign table? Well, it's a table where we bring all of our partners together and we actually strategize together. One team, one fight, one strategy. Guess what the DNC is doing now after a 30-year hiatus? We have a national coordinated campaign table. The coordinated campaign tables in New Jersey and Virginia were instrumental in the victories that happened there up and down the ballot. Think about the 13 seats that we won in the Virginia House. Those pickups, which was historic. Think about this. 7 of those 13 seats that we won haven't been won by a Democrat in 40 years. They were held by Republicans for 40 years. This is how deep and wide last night's victory was, right? I know there's a focus on the big 5, California, Pennsylvania, Virginia, New Jersey, and New York. But what happened throughout the country was a landslide for Democrats. And what I'm saying to you right now is we have to continue coordinating. We have to continue making investments in permanent infrastructure. And we have to compete up and down the ballot, contest every race all throughout the country. It's not changing anything that we did to lead to this moment. It's just continuing it. And what happens, as you know, Simone, is that we take the foot off the gas after an election, we rest on our laurels, and we don't start again until next summer. That's not this DNC. We're going to continue. The foot is on the gas, no brakes. We're doing this all the way through November of 2028. No rest for this DNC. Year-round organizing, year-round communications, getting out there in those states and contesting races up and down the ballot. Every inch of ground we gain adds up, and we're going to keep adding up by winning elections.